you are in a dense Queens neighborhood or a suburban Long Island block, the goal is to show your house in its absolute best light. So today, I'm going to share 10 things every single seller should be doing before they list their house for sale, but only if you want to get top dollar for it. Stay tuned. Number one, you want to boost the curb appeal. You want to make sure that the exterior of the house looks its absolute best because buyers' first impressions count. The buyer makes up their mind within 30 seconds whether this house feels right or not. So it's important that you make it shine. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that the lawns are mowed, that there's no leaves or debris or dirt kind of hanging around your front step. Make sure you have a fresh mat. Make sure now that it's springtime that you've got pots of flowers, everything is swept up, and maybe even a nice wreath at the front door. Not something that's been, lightened by the sun because it's been sitting there for years, but just make sure that it's fresh and it's new. And that way when buyers come in, they see, wow, this home has been taken care of. If it's in a higher end house, I would absolutely advise that you put down fresh mulch because that first impression is super important and you want to boost that curb appeal. A lot of times buyers even drive around the house before they even come in and make an appointment. So they see the house online, they take a look at the location and they drive around. They want to make sure that the house is being well looked after and they get that impression from the exterior first. So make sure that you pay attention to that. Number two is a fresh coat of paint. This is also really important. Think somewhere along the lines of white, light gray, beige. You message me, I'm happy to share with you my favorite colors, but a fresh coat of paint before you put your home on the market can make the difference of a $20,000 to $30,000 sales price. Believe me when I tell you, especially if you have rooms that have extreme colors. So for example, I went into a house a few weeks ago that had been on the market with another agent and it had not sold. So they invited me to come in and give my opinion on what they think the house is worth and what improvements they can make. And their home was lovely, but their dining room was green. They literally had green paint on their walls. And I knew as soon as I saw that green paint, that was the reason the house had not sold in the past. So I advised them to please just put a fresh coat of paint, choose something just off-white, just to open it up to the market. And I'm sure that they loved their green paint. It suited them and they enjoyed their holidays in that dining room, but the buyer coming in was not going to appreciate that color or a very, very, very small percentage of the market. And when you sell your home, of course, you're looking to appeal to the masses and make it as desirable as possible to a larger group of people so you have more interest. So they took my advice, they painted that dining room a neutral color, and within 2 weeks, we had the house sold for them. So a fresh coat of paint will always go a long way. And especially if you've been in the house a long time, there's not, sometimes people get used to seeing little marks on the wall and whatnot, but when a buyer comes in and it's brand new and it's freshly painted, it really does go a long way. So my advice is to spend a couple of dollars up front and make sure that it shows clean, fresh, and then buyers believe that you have maintained this house nicely throughout the time you've been living there. Hey, I wanted to share something for free. I prepared a home seller preparation checklist for residents of Queens and Long Island. This guide will give you everything you need to know about preparing your home for sale. So if you click on the link below in the comments, you'll download your own copy for free. Or if you visit maureenfolan.com, you'll be able to get your seller checklist there. So thank you so much, and let's get back to it. Number three, you want to repair the mechanics on the house. That includes the roof, HVAC system, and the plumbing. So when a buyer makes a deal on the property, they're going to hire a home inspector before they actually sign a contract on the house. So the home inspector is going to check the plumbing. They're going to make sure that there's no leaks or anything like that, that the roof is not missing any shingles, and especially insurance companies, they are now sending drones over people's homes to check the quality of the roof. So make sure you pay attention to that, as well as the air conditioning and heating system. I would absolutely bring in a maintenance person to check all of that beforehand before you list the house, because if there are any issues, it will certainly come up and you want to avoid any problems before we get to it. And that way the buyer doesn't expect a huge discount when it comes to the pricing. So be sure to pay attention to those things because it will come up in an inspection, especially if it's an older boiler or older air conditioning system. The buyer's inspector is going to pick up on that. So make sure everything has been maintained and is operating smoothly, because if it's not, it will be an issue, and it will be an issue that will likely cost you more money in the long run. So check those things out before you list the house. Let's talk about a kitchen and bathroom refresh. I didn't say remodel, I said refresh. And what I mean by this is changing any kind of outdated knobs. If there's any kind of scratches, blemishes on the paint, I would absolutely just kind of touch it up to make sure that it doesn't look worn and beat up. When it comes to any kind of faucets, if they're dated or scratched or looking really old, I would invest in new faucets just to kind of give it a fresher, cleaner upgrade. This will make the difference between the kitchens and bathrooms looking very dated to well maintained. And when you're selling the house, you want to have it looking as maintained as possible. So I would advise spending a couple of dollars upfront when it comes to kitchens and bathrooms, and that way you get a better sales price. Let's talk about number 5, floor repairs. So back in the day, carpets used to be very popular, but today they are not. Buyers do not want to move into a home that has other people's carpets. They're thinking about all the dust, allergies, if you've had pets throughout the years. So if you do have a carpet in your house and you have hardwood floors, which a lot of the properties in Queens and Long Island do, I would advise ripping up those old dated carpets, especially if they have stains on them, because it's pretty disgusting, and having those floors buffed. A lot of times the floors underneath the carpet will be in beautiful condition because they've been protected all these years, and hardwood floors are super popular these days. Buyers love them. So if you can afford to have those carpets ripped up and the floors sanded and buffed, I would highly advise doing that, because nice floors do make a good impression with these buyers, and they will pay extra to not have to go through that whole process themselves. So just make it easy and have it show nicely, and it's a good investment to do that up front, and you will see a greater sales price. I guarantee it. And number 6, this is my favorite, and I do this every couple of months in my own house because it drives me crazy when I see broken things. I would address deferred maintenance. And what I mean by that is take a walkthrough of your property, look for anything that's broken, anything like a cracked window pane or a broken doorknob or a light fixture that needs to be replaced. I would absolutely spend the time doing that, because when buyers see defects like this and broken things in the house, a lot of times they think that there's bigger things that haven't been maintained and addressed. So just take a little bit of time to do that, and that way there will be no issues that come up later, and the buyer cannot find anything that would stop them from moving forward with their purchase. In the Queens and Long Island market, many times buyers are coming in from the city. They're coming in from Manhattan, where they've been in an apartment all these years and they've not had to do any kind of maintenance, or they've had a superintendent that lives in the building that's taking care of these things. So when they're moving to Queens and Long Island and they're buying a house, this is a project for them, and they want to make sure that this is a simple and easy project. They're not looking for something that they're going to have to spend months repairing, because the truth is they probably don't know much about housing. So you want to make sure that when they are coming into your home, that there's the least amount of work and headache and project ahead of them, because they don't want to deal with it. Buyers want easy, seamless. That is what sells these days more than anything else, especially with the cost of everything. So if you spend a couple of $1,000s up front, you are going to see a return of $20,000, maybe $30,000 more. So it's worth it to do it up front if you're looking to get the best price out of the market. And number 7, this is a huge one. In fact, this is probably the most important one, and I advise my sellers this before anything else, is to declutter. Declutter as much as you possibly can. You've been living in your house for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. You've accumulated a lot of things. There's things probably in the bottom of your closet, underneath your stairs, up in your attic, in your drawers. My advice is start early as much as you can. Every single day, start going through your drawers, closets, and start to give away. There's charities, there's people in your neighborhood. If you put it on Facebook Marketplace, there will be people that come and take your clothing, furniture, anything that you haven't used for a long time, any kind of tools. You don't want to throw them away because they are valuable, but I would absolutely start working on donating and giving it away, because I promise you, you have more things than you realize. And when you are moving, you're likely going to be downsizing or moving out of state, and you don't want to bring all this old stuff with you, especially things that you haven't used or worn in 5, 10, 15 years. So now is the time to get rid of it. Declutter, declutter, declutter. If it doesn't have any use for you, please get rid of it. That's the number one thing I can give you. The number one piece of advice is getting rid of it. I heard something interesting someone said recently, is that the first half of your life, you do everything you can to get as much as you possibly can, buy as much as you possibly can, and then the second half of your life, you're doing everything to give it away. And that is so true. So if you are going to be downsizing or moving, please get rid of whatever stuff you have not used, anything that's half broken, anything that you haven't worn for years. Now is the time, okay? Buyers do not want to come into the house and see your house busy with ornaments, pictures, little tchotchkes, blankets on the couch, whatever stuff you may have that you are living with is your personal style. But remember, when you're selling your house, you're now opening it up to the market, and not everyone is going to love what you have. When a buyer comes in, they want to get their own feeling. They want to imagine themselves and their family living in this space. And it's hard to do that when you've got 27 pictures on the wall of your family. And then they get distracted and they can't think of anything else, and they just feel like that it's very busy and it's overwhelming. So please put these things away. Use your garage for storage. If you have to use your basement for storage, just as long as everything is neatly put into boxes, stacked neatly. Buyers understand that you're in the process of packing and moving. So I don't mind if you use those spaces for storage just to pack your things, but definitely get them out of the living space. Get them out of the first impressions, the first floor, the kitchens, the bathrooms, the living room. All that needs to be as simplified as possible, okay? Number 8, you want to update the lighting. A lot of these older houses have older light fixtures, light bulbs that are not so bright, and it makes the rooms look dark and dim. So I would highly advise adding more lamps, putting in a nice light fixture, changing your light bulbs. With the brightness of a room can absolutely make the difference of whether a buyer wants to move forward or wants to pull out. So absolutely invest in changing all the light bulbs, adding a few lamps. Nothing sets the tone and mood better than throwing on a few lights and creating that kind of warm atmosphere. So that's well worth it. Number 9 is fence and gate maintenance. Most people overlook this, they don't realize this, but when people move to the suburbs, they're looking for space and they're looking for privacy. So if there's any latches that are not working on your fence, I would absolutely have them addressed, because then again, buyers are thinking, if this is broken, what else is broken? The owner doesn't seem to take care of this property. It's small little things like that that do make a difference. Or if a fence is, being knocked over, or there's a piece missing from, a storm or whatever the case is, I would absolutely have that repaired. If the fence is a PVC fence and it's, all dated from moss and it's dirty, I would absolutely have that power washed, because again, it just shows that you've maintained your home nicely and you take care of everything. So work on that. And number 10, clear the gutters and the downspouts. This is a very simple, cheap job that could save you thousands of dollars in leaks and damage, okay? This is one thing that gets overlooked by many people, but make sure every spring you're having a handyman come in and just clean out those gutters, because I've seen people leave gutters for years and they collect leaves and branches and whatnot, and then eventually they start to get leaks in their home, which costs a lot of money to repair. So fix this problem before it becomes a problem, because again, when the buyer is doing their inspection, this is definitely going to come up, and preventing this up front just shows how you've maintained your house throughout the years, and it puts you in a stronger position. At the end of the day, selling your house in Queens and Long Island is not about just putting a sign in your yard and keeping your fingers crossed. You are looking for the best return on your investment, and spending a weekend or a weekend or so of doing these repairs and getting your house ready for the market is well worth it to get a better sales price and a smoother sale in the long run. Believe me when I tell you, I've seen people who prepared up front and done very well and had a fast sale and got multiple bids and put them in a really strong position where buyers didn't even negotiate, or buyers even waived the home inspection because they felt that the seller had taken care of their house. And then I've seen homeowners that have done absolutely no preparation and think that buyers are going to come in and pay them top dollar for their smelly, gross, nasty, dirty house. Believe me, no one is paying you top dollar for that. So it's really important that you do these steps if you're looking for the best price. Or if you're not looking for the best price and you want to sell it as is, there's also investors that will buy it, but they will come in and they will lowball you. So you have to decide which way you want to go. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to give me a call. I would love to help you. Any resources that you need to get your house ready for the market, I have a whole book of vendors that I can refer. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you subscribe, because every week I post valuable information on selling your home in Queens and Long Island and what's going on with the real estate market. See you soon. Bye.